Hello, everyone. Welcome to WTF Walk the Floors, all things hospitality training. I'm Michele Kline with Kline Hospitality, and I'm here with my co-hostess, Stephanie Leger, with First Rate Hospitality. How are you, Stephanie?
Very well. How are you, Michelle?
I'm doing wonderful. So, what are we going to be touching upon today?
Well, we are going to be talking about what does clarity of purpose mean as it relates to an operation or organization. And the key thing here is the clarity of purpose, not just purpose, but clarity.
Yes, a topic that I absolutely love. So I'll share with you what I believe it means to me and what it is that I work with when I go visit the properties or brands. It means knowing exactly what it is that you want to achieve and why. Understanding the why. So not something unclear or vague, but complete and clear and detailed goals. So only when the entire team knows exactly what the objective is and why it is that they are contributing towards that objective, that is when they can achieve it.
Awesome. And how do you get the clarity of purpose? This seems like a silly question, but the reality in many instances is an operation may have too many objectives, too many goals. And what this results in is the team's ability to focus on what this is most important because there's so much going on, they don't know where to even start.
Absolutely. And so many times we have, the bigger picture and then we come up with 5,000 different objectives and we really don't know why we're doing things, right? And that gets very messy and we get caught in the whirlwind of the daily operation, not being able to truly tackle any of those thousands of goals. So to focus on what will truly move the needle, I'm going to give you a few tips and then you tell me what you think.
Okay.
So, creating some space. What does this mean? Typically, when we are unclear of the steps we need to take, the change we need to put our team through, or the specific goal we should be focusing on right now, the best thing we can do is create space. So, carving out time to brainstorm, inviting key players to the conversation, sending out surveys for the individual contributors so that they can not only reflect and have that time to reflect, but make the time to gain that clarity. So that's my number one tip. Next, I would say talk to others, right? Genuinely seek the feedback of others, whether it is your peers, perhaps from other departments or other locations. There are hotels that have different locations, or maybe it's your colleagues from a different property, not necessarily a sister property, right? Talking to your superiors, trying to get some of their feedback on the way they think, or even talking to your team members. Usually they are the ones that know best because they're the ones that are actually dealing with the operation on a daily basis. So perspective is critical when it comes to gaining clarity of purpose. Then I would say, as my final tip, take action when you're ready and then reflect. Reflection is most important and it's totally underrated. And it truly allows the growth to catch up on you, right? To catch up. Because when we don't stop and think about the results after we took the action or things that we could have done differently or things that we could have tweaked, that's when we really don't learn from the execution of those objectives, the execution of those goals. And we talk about in our training programs, Stephanie, about how we know what the theory of creating those goals look like. But most of the time, people don't know how to execute on them because people don't understand or comprehend the absolute why that we're doing this, right? And how are we going to execute on them? So reflection is extremely important. What is reflection is what will allow you to set back and sit back and understand what the goals are. How do we adjust them in the future? How do we execute them? What does that look like? And that will allow you to truly comprehend if what you did could have been done differently and be improved or enhanced moving forward. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other tips I would add on to that is display
Mm.
as well. So here you've come up with your clarity, your purpose, your goals, your objectives. You usually are writing them on a whiteboard, but making sure that it's there, that's being displayed throughout the back of the house of your department, talked about too, as well through your daily lineups, because you may say, okay, we're going to have this moment where we're going to be talking about our goals for the next year. You know, we're heading into 2023, and now we may have that new team member that's starting, say, next week. And how are you going to be able to have them involved of knowing what you all just discussed, where you're going as a team to that next level? So those would be my tips, would be display, and then also to making sure that you're consistently talking about it, so new team members are understanding what the goals and objectives are in the department.
Yes, absolutely.
And Michelle, so why is clarity important as well?
Yeah, so clarity, I think, is truly the golden key that unlocks the direction of your team so that they can achieve anything, right? Without clarity, they're mindlessly going through the motions and following the herd without having a meaningful destination, right? If we were to speak in a poetic tone about it, what would you say, Stephanie, are perhaps the risks of not having clarity?
Well, you're just now having the too many chefs in the kitchen. You know, it's this term that we have often here in hospitality, where or too many chiefs and not enough Indians. But making sure that we are having that clarity, to making sure that everyone is on the same page, and we're as a team. There's no I in team of being like, oh, this is just our manager, they're going to be making sure that we do it this way, but it is as a team, as a department, of making sure that we're achieving those goals and those purposes together as a unit, and understanding the steps to being able to achieve that and where our goal is, because we want to be able to achieve and go beyond our goal too.
Absolutely. Now, how many times have you visited a property and you've asked, as you're going through process improvement and understanding, why do we have some of these steps in place, or why are you doing things this way? And you ask, and so many team members, and this is our WTF type of moment, have no idea what they're doing it. They have
No.
no clue.
Or they've been doing it, that process, for 10, 20 years, and they don't even understand why they are still writing down certain information, where it's all now backed up in the PMS system, where they can just be able to run a report. Or with technology, it's all there, but they're continuing to having to do it manually, instead of being able to do it a faster way to gain more time to being able to take care of the guest.
Absolutely. So I would say that it is only successful leaders that truly clarify their purpose and direction to their team. That's the bottom line, right? So then the team has that very, very clear and transparent understanding of what success looks like to them, right? What does not only the bigger picture should end up looking like, but what are the colors and what's the depth, and how am I going to feel when I reach that success by the end of achieving that goal? Or, there's weekly goals sometimes that we have to achieve, but what does that feel like, right? Everything they do is now consistent with their clarity of purpose. So I think that it's a topic that we don't talk about enough, allowing people to understand the why behind the what.
Yes, Absolutely. And also, too, I would point out, as a leader, if this is your first time that you're introducing it to your department, breaking it down. Don't go in and like saying, okay, we're going to have a 90-minute powwow session, talk about our goals, our purposes, the clarity that we want to making sure that we're achieving those goals. But for a lot of employees, when you're first introducing this, it could be very overwhelming, but they also too may have a lot of other things going on in their mind, and now they're trying to change their track, that it's best to being able to break it down first into different segments and then piece it all together to being able to show the bigger picture.
You can't eat an elephant in one bite.
No, not at all.
Not at all. That's lovely. This is great. So, would you say that having a sense of purpose gives us clear reasons for what we want to do, and then making sure that as leaders, cascading down to that clarity to our team members all the way to the last one on the chain is extremely critical for goal achievement and attainment?
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then making sure too of being having a flexible mind, because just like our guests, they're, changing their demands of what we've been seeing in the last year. That our goals also too for our departments may be changing as well, quarterly, weekly, monthly. And so we want to making sure as a leader that we, while walking the floors, we are seeing these changes happen, to making sure that we're updating our goals and providing that information of what our purpose may have changed now from, say, October to here we are going into December.
Yes, and not only sharing those results as the surveys come in, or results as we get feedback from the various sources as to what our guest is thinking or feeling or what their experience looks like, but also, again, verbatim reading those to our team members, because that is truly what is going to allow them to comprehend the purpose behind the actual goal. And that will give them there is a close link with intrinsic motivation. And as long as our team understands what that looks like, then they'll be able to be self-motivated in order to start moving the needle the right way, as opposed to just you know doing it because you have to do it, or I do
Mhm.
this because I was told that this is where the department needs to go, as opposed to I do it because I feel this is going to move the needle, this is what's going to make a difference, and I make a difference. And then that obviously takes us back to team member engagement, right?
Yes, exactly. And I would have to say an example of being able for the leaders, our listeners, and employees to bringing it back to the department. So let's use food and beverage for example. And we're reading those reviews and we're seeing that timeliness of service is an issue that is coming up from the guest reviews. Okay, so now let's say, what is our clarity of purpose to being able to reduce those numbers of guests that are saying that timeliness is a problem? And now we can figure out, well, our water station is all the way too far back in the back of the house area, or our silverware is not close by, or the food, the way that we course our tickets. And now having, as you had mentioned, Michelle, with, having that team engagement, where now you're getting the team because they're on the front line. They're seeing those steps of service of why they may be having issues with that timeliness of service. And now saying, okay, what is our KPI? So our goal basically of being able to say, okay, well, you know what? Last month we had 20 guests that had mentioned about timeliness of service. Let's see if now with these new tactics of being able to reduce it half and say, okay, let's see if we can get 10. And that to us is considered winning. And then we'll move from there and hopefully now reduce it just now to a one-off here or there. But, this is an example to being able to use to your department of setting that clarity on such a simple issue.
Yes, and I think that the best way to get that through that message through our employees is allowing them to reflect for a minute and think of how would you feel if you were the guest sitting at the bar waiting for, or at the lounge waiting for your drink, right? Or if you're sitting at the restaurant waiting for that server to drop some water as you are, I don't know, I'm in Vegas. It's
Yeah.
everybody, the first thing you grab when you get to the table is the water, right? So allowing the team members to feel the way the guest would feel, I think it's critical to them really understanding, okay, how do we figure this out, and what are the things that we need to do to make the process better, like moving the water station closer, right? That's kind of where we get their gears going to try to be part of the solution, or not always like tell them what to do or how to do it.
Exactly, because the more that we tell them what to do, we already know the responsive is not going to be good. And
Yeah.
then we're now not going to be going anywhere and moving the needle.
Yes, totally agree. Lovely.
Well, what a great topic. I can't believe we're already, short and sweet, but I think we gave so many tips to our listeners, and especially more goal setting going into 2023 for our departments.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being here. Thank you, everybody else, for being on the other side. And we'll see you again next week.
Bye.